Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a beautiful sunny afternoon here in Veenendaal, Netherlands. I am Lorcan Murray, and it is my distinct pleasure to be joined by
Ingeborg
Carlisle is one of the young commentators on the rise here in Europe. And what a fantastic match we have against two of the most impressive young sides in the women's division. In the left, Germany. Fighting out of the right corner, we have Russia. And it is a heated battle between these two in the quarter-final, with the Czech Republic awaiting the winner in the semis. So right now, the Russians starting on defense, throwing a big arcing pull up. And here come the Germans, hoping to do some damage. So we'll see how this goes now. A huge shot. Quick dumps around, hoping to find any kind of hole, and just taking it off. Nice coverage downfield from the Russians initially to stop down the Germans' first few looks, and they are staying shoulder to shoulder, making them work for every single pass. That's a desperation throw, going up, floating over a lot of different people, and somehow the heads-up play coming out of Rebecca Ryman. She's able to steal it away despite the intense pressure, although there's a callback for a stall-out contested. So very early on, the Russians doing a fantastic job. Zavialova putting a lot of pressure on with the force. The Germans adamant that it was not a stall out. She was able to get it away. Certainly felt like it was coming close to 10 seconds, but I'm not entirely sure if it got there.
Still a bailout though this early in the game does not bode well for Germany.
Not at all, Ingeborg, as the Russians coming out hot and heavy early on and shutting down a lot of options downfield. The Russians immediately have to go with the desperation flick hook, and it sails over the head, somehow bouncing into the hands of Schanz. Now she's in front of the Russian end zone. I don't know how the Germans got away with it twice in a row, but great bailout throws, and they're looking for the big around swing all the way to the other side. Excellent stuff from the Germans to be able to keep this disc alive, and they are working hard, but the Russians are making them earn every single inch. Weidler has to keep on cutting in order to get free on the dump. This game is starting at a furious pace. Weidler, beautiful leading pass down the line, collected by Schanz, and she pops that in for the early score. Just about completed by Keeling, and slamming it down 1-0 to the Germans. That's technically a flawless offense, but my God, if the Russians didn't make them work for it.
Yeah, technically being the operative word there. Germany having a hard time squeezing it by the Russians. In the end, making it look quite flawless and easy, but those stalls were rising every single time.
The Russians coming into this game with a record of 4-2. They were able to beat the Finnish 15-4, the Austrians 15-6, and the Swedish 15-5, starting the tournament off in flying form, but then falling to the French and the Netherlands 15-6 and 15-9 respectively. They were able to beat the Swiss 14-9 to book a place in the quarterfinals, but having to go up against a very strong German side who have worked their way through all kinds of opposition, only falling victim to one loss. 2 losses, one against the Czech Republic and one against France. So both these sides have been felled by France. The Germans coming a lot closer though, losing 15-11, whereas the Russians lost 15-6. So let's see how the Russians are able to get going on the offensive end. Having to reach high into the sky to pull that one down. The Germans going with a heavy man-to-man defense. I should say woman to woman, a nice little pop, but it floats around, just about rescued from the sideline by the captain, Sina Yasalova. Yasalova with a gold medal from Beaches, playing on that fantastic Russian team who were able to come up with a huge comeback victory against the Americans in the beach final. So now the Germans looking for their first break of the game. An unfortunate drop, and Franke picking it up. Immediately looks dump, and a nice little bit of quick cutting, not letting the Russians settle. Stadler has options, an awful lot of space in front of her, but has to resort to the dump pass to Franke, and no cutting coming off immediately for her. The Russians doing a fantastic job of just sitting on the shoulders of the Germans, never giving more than a few inches of space. As Stadler gets it down the line to Wolny. And an imposing force coming in on Wolny. She's forced to lash it and just bouncing out of the hands of Wiedemeyer.
Germany so close to coming up a break early on.
And a 2-0 lead, a powerful way to start off in what is going to be a hotly contested game. You see a couple of different teams out there in the stands. The German men were here cheering on their women during the warm-up. You can also see the Czech women keeping an eye on their competition in the semi-final. It could be either of these teams. The Latvian men coming on and cheering on the Russian women. A huge hug coming up by the Russians, but very well read downfield and excellently defended. They were hoping to be able to sneak a deep shot, but Wolny was very wise to it, getting in the block.
Yeah, she got into complete position there and very securely slapping down that disc for the defensive.
Block, so now picking up the disc and getting ready to go. Stadler looking for options, takes a nice under, just about getting away with it as Jackel keeps it flowing down to Wolny, and the Germans gaining some good yards. But still just trying to get their undercuts working. They have to dump so consistently thanks to the pressure from the Russians, and that throw coming out with just a little bit too little spin, and Jackel going to be disappointed with that one. So now the Russians getting another look. The Germans didn't have a turn on their offense. The Russians have already had 2. Lining that one up, and we know they like to go big. It's a huge throw coming from Nanaeva. But an uncharacteristic drop downfield from Stukalina, one of the captains of this Russian side.
Just falling through both her hands and her legs, unable to come up with it. Such a shame.
Unfortunate indeed. Difficult to go into the wind as well. The Germans getting that all-important upwind score to open the game, a difficult task. So now Franke picking the disc up, looking for options. A few cuts coming downfield, unable to hit any of them really. Beautiful inside break to the uprushing. Fantastic hand block. For a second I was about to start singing the praise of Bendrad for the cut, but some hand block from Yasalova shutting down their options. Now Yasalova bending down, trying to punch this one in. The huge hand block setting up a lovely floaty pass. There's going to be a battle, comfortably taken down. Nanaeva, her hook didn't work out, so she decides to be on the receiving end, and doing so very well. 1-1, we're in for quite a screamer.
Yeah, Wolny getting perfect position on that earlier deep put by the Russians, but this time falling just short and giving Russia the equalizer at 1-1.
Wonderful catch by Nanaeva. Plays her ultimate back in Russia with Biozone, team based out of Serpukov. So, after a lot of turns on that second point, the Russians eventually able to punch it in for the offensive hold. Impressive stuff out of them. And it just goes to show you how hotly contested this game is going to be all match long.
Yeah, especially Russia's dump defense there was just too much for the Germans at times, forcing most of the turnovers.
Emma Phillips and Matthias Brandt, the coaching staff for this German side, have a hell of a task trying to break down the incredibly athletic Russians, who have made every single pass a hotly contested one. So now here come the Germans. Looking around for options, but nothing really coming free from them straight away. This is a bit of a Russian zone now.
Beautiful inside throw there.
Trying to stifle them. Big, heavy force from Golosova. Getting the turn on a dump pass, and now the Russians with a big advantage as they're hoping to go downfield. Picked up by Yasalova, spreading it around, and now a lightning quick pass thrown in, now right in front of the end zone. They're able to get the jump around, and a brilliant pass by Yasalova, but it floats out past the intended receiver. An unfortunate error by the Russians as they lose their opportunity for a break, but going into the wind, you've got to believe they'll be able to do a little bit more.
Absolutely, just waiting to get this disc back on their end zone.
And the zone from the Russians just trying to stifle the Germans and doing a great job of making those dump passes quite difficult. I thought that was a lovely little look to Schaefer, but she couldn't quite catch up with the disc as it just drops out of the sky.
Yeah, a little bit of wind pushing that disc down far faster than the thrower had intended, and Russia just get it back exactly where they turned it over 5 seconds ago.
Anna Stukalina, one of the captains, passing it to the other captain, Yasalova. Stukalina just behind her. And the Russians trying to beat the German match defense. Big swing all the way around and bouncing out of the hands of the intended receiver. That was a fantastic break thrown by Yasalova, but with a bit too much mustard on it, a difficult one to bring in. Bounces out of the intended receiver's hand, so here come the Germans again. A lovely throw around, and that's how they're gonna have to beat this zone. Attracting the Russians in, and a lot of float. Beautifully controlled, milking it for all it's worth, Kindla chasing it down and just laying out to make sure she can maintain possession.
Yeah, beautiful play by her.
Very creative and hitting the middle. The Russians have switched back to match defense, but a bit too late. As a fantastic throw through from Schaefer, abusing the time that they were given and able to get it to Ryman for the score and the hold. 2-1, all 3 points going upwind. A little bit surprising.
Well, that's just how good these women are. They're not satisfied with the downwind challenge. They will keep fighting upwind.
Very true. Brilliant showing from all 3 points. Vladimir Kochkin calling for a quick timeout to talk to his women.
I'm kind of surprised Russia didn't manage to punch that one in. Perhaps punching being what they were trying to do and just zipping those throws far too hard. Trying to control them in the wind, but just too hard for their offensive receivers.
That's an excellent call. Yasalova had a fantastic throw, but just coming in too fast. And there isn't been a timeout, just Kochkin bringing his girls together on the pitch to have a momentary word with them before sending his O-line back out there. To try and keep the Russians in close contention. They're going to have to go upwind, and the wind is really starting to pick up here, Ingeborg, blowing down into the face of the Russians. Coming from the far.
Lovely fresh breeze.
It's a very fresh breeze for us, but I'm sure it's infuriating, and the influence it had on that pull. The underside shown. It's turning more into a side wind. It is coming ever so slightly from the right to the left of the pitch, but definitely coming across from the far sideline to the near one. That wind is whipping almost directly into our faces.
The fans not doing a very good job at getting that disc back onto the field. struggling hard in this wind. But that's why they are fans and not the players of this competition.
Very true, Ingeborg. And Vasiukova with the disc in the middle of the pitch, being marked by Franka. The Russians love their deep shots. We'll see how the wind affects their ability to take those options. Getting it down the sideline to Yasalova. Such a big player for this Russian team. Lashing the big flick hook, but it falls a bit too early. Massive commitment from both players. Hands up in the air, but Stadler always had the inside, and despite the heroic dive coming out of Toporkova.
I really thought Toporkova was going to have that at the end. I mean, she bodied her way past to still get a play.
I thought she was absolutely out of the way, and a lovely little touch from Yasalova, but screaming in there to tear it down. The Luftwaffe in full force. Weidemeyer owning the skies. And the Russians really doing a great job of contesting every single throw. And unfortunately, it just seemed like Berent rushing that one. Strong take, but then going for the quick dump and throwing it in between 2 players. Yasalova picking the disc up again. A nice low throw into the wind, exactly what you want to see. Zavialova repeating it, calmly taken in by Naneva, who puts a big floaty backhand. There's going to be a battle underneath it. Who can read it best? A heroic bid, but in the end the Russians unable to come up with it.
Yeah, I was expecting the other receiver there in the end zone to take the position, but instead letting her teammate battle it out for the more difficult bid. And she will be taking an injury substitution, it seems.
So defense, Leontieva coming off the pitch.
Heroic effort, but just hurting her body hard on that ground. Surprisingly, people going down on this ground are suffering despite all the rain we had yesterday. Still quite a hard ground to work with.
It's been a beautiful sunny day all day today, and there's fantastic drainage on these pitches, something we've been applauding all week long, withstanding the rains, but now just starting to work a little bit against the players. It's a lot more painful to hit that dirt today. So the sun is hard in the top layer. Fantastic coverage by the Russians. They're making the Germans work for every single inch. The Germans, never a team afraid of putting in the hard yards, but so difficult to get any kind of separation from these Russian athletes. And Yasalova just pulling her force all around before being able to get it into the middle to Nanaeva. Put that blading into the ground ever so slightly. Couldn't quite put it up enough for Zavarina to get onto the end of it.
Yeah, she knows that was a throwing mistake on her part and apologizes.
So now the Germans with another chance for a break and going downwind to an extent. Looking for the deep shot, a little bit of an isolation play, absolutely brilliantly measured. And here comes the Hawk with nobody around her, free to chase it down. Baumog waiting for some kind of cut to come free in the end zone. The Germans filter through, doing a good job of not clogging. Able to get through in a lovely pop, big layout, and just bouncing off the hands. Stadler saw her opportunity, but I think rushed to take it. Could have had a moment for a breath.
Yeah, trying to play safe, put it far away from the Russian defender, ends up overthrowing her receiver a bit, who has to make too hard of a grab.
It was a hell of a bid from Luther, but now the Russians, led by Yasalova, able to just get that one down the line. And it's in their hands. Zavialova going to for a dump, and it just gets carried away. So now the Germans directly in front of the Russian end zone. The disc pretty much exactly in the middle. Be interesting to see how it goes. Stadler taking her time walking down. And the Germans going with that isolation play, looking for the around backhand break. Absolutely sells her marker. Golisova was left looking over her shoulder, and Stadler taking that opportunity to throw an easy pass to the open side. Well collected, and that's the opening break for the Germans. First blood to Deutschland, 3-1. And now it has been changed with the opening break. It now turns into offensive holds going downwind. So the Russians are going to need to hold this play and keep themselves in close contention. You don't want to let the Germans get off on a run.
Sorry, Casper, can you hear me, man? You can hear me? Oh, okay. Am I actually in the comms? How about that? Is that better?
So a dream start for the Germans.
I can't hear you back though, man, so what's going on there?
Playing hard and doing very well for themselves in the process. The Russians have put them under huge pressure early on, but they have so far managed to prove equal to it. Stadler, one of the players who came up through the under-17 program for Germany, based out of Frankfurt, doing very well. And there's that classic German chant of defense. All the way along for the pull, and the double clap. And now the Russians looking to go in the opposite direction with a huge hook. We know how much they like those. Trying to hit the incredibly quick Anna Stukalina downfield, but couldn't connect with her captain. And you can expect Yasalova to be sending discs all day. Unable to come up with it on that one. So now Franke picking up the disc. And the Germans go hunting for another break. Immediately having difficulty getting anything off. She's forced to go for a high arcing throw. Somehow that dump works out. It had no right to, but in the end able to get it to Wolny. Definitely Baumog has it now in the middle. She has an open pass available. Takes it. Weidemeyer with the disc. Wolny taking her time playing out of the open lane, and there's a bit of clogging coming through from the Germans. Eventually able to get it down to Luder. And Wolny working hard, a brilliant cut back into the open channel. Able to get that down the line. Sorry, that was Weidemeyer getting it back to Wolny. Wolny now with the disc. And swinging that around smoothly into the middle to Franke. But there's call of a foul. Nanaeva has her hands up in the air. Excellent use of the hand signals. Thank you very much to both sides. discussion between Walney and Nana Ava. Just coming on to help out. So we're just going to wait for them to resolve this. Things have started up at a furious pace here in the quarterfinal. Hard running all across the pitch.
Language barrier, possible problem between such differently country teams, but they resolve it really nicely here.
And it's a quick resolution as Walney looks for the dump. Goes with a nice play downfield. Franca with the disc. Waiting for options, floats that one up. Excellent job by the Russians, but they can't stop the brilliant grab from Luder. Peeling off from her woman, Toprakova.
Sandwiched between two Russian defenders, just rising up and ripping that one out of the sky for a score. Great work by her.
Malwine Luder with the fantastic grab. It floated for a while. She was born in the year 2000. Just put that in perspective for some people. Only 17 years old, playing with an awful lot of confidence. She is also a rookie on this team. Hasn't played on any of the other German junior teams, and is regarded as the most improved player over the entire course of the season. You can see how good she is now.
No, exactly.
Definitely one who has grown with the team and able to help the Russians, well, help the Russians go further behind, able to help the Germans get an upwind break after their downwind one. So now 4-1 up.
It's always too impressive to see how some young players can come in and just pick up ultimate, and within a year or two they can already find themselves on a national team at this level, playing here, trying to make their ways into a semi-final, not showing any kind of stress through the novelty of the situation.
And I'm just impressed at how the Germans have been able to absorb the intense pressure that the Russian defense is putting on them, and taking a 4-1 lead when honestly, based off that first offensive point, I thought it was just the Russians who were going to be able to tear ahead.
The Russian women, reflecting really the Russian women's beach team there at Worlds in not Dubai, I am sorry, Voyant, harkening back a little.
There's just a slight difference between those two cities.
It's close, they're close, right? Geographically next to one another, practically. Practically. But the Russian women there in the Beach Championships final, the story was not only of their victory, but also of the suffocating defensive pressure they were able to put on the American side. And this somewhat younger team definitely showing that they too are Russian women capable of that suffocating pressure.
And we can't forget that those Russian women in Royan, in the final of World Beach, went on a 5-0 run against the Americans, one of the most impressive runs we've ever seen. And you have to believe that that translates to this young team, if not in the players, although there is
some overlap.
Beaches. There is Kasina Yasalova, number 88, one of the captains, was on that women's team. Does have a gold medal from beaches earlier in the tournament. Would love to add a medal here at the European Championships. But also just the belief that seeing your countrywomen, I imagine for a lot of these players, their coaches, their teammates at several of the countries, Biozone, Southwest, based out of Moscow, Elvis Presley based out of St. Petersburg, Lemongrass as well, also based out of Moscow, or just getting to play with those women who come back and say, look what we've done, and you know them, you have to believe that you are also capable of it.
Absolutely. It was a kind of a victory for Europe in general, showing that we could take on the Americans, but for these Russian women, it's a lot closer to home. If our older women can do it, so can we.
Definitely hoping for that trickle-down confidence. Vasiakova launching that one deep. We've got a bit of a battle downfield. Brilliantly read by that captain, Stukalina. Able to just keep her composure. And a huge defensive bid by Walney, but unable to stop the score. Excellent stuff out of the Russians. Zavialova, the woman who threw the huck, running down for the bookends with her captain, Stukalina. Brilliant stuff out of the Russians to respond immediately, going upwind, making the game 4-2.
Yeah, great pressure by the German defender there, number 6. She has been putting in a lot of work on the German defense.
See Stukalina just making the catch there, doing great work, and then fantastic high octane cutting. Very, very quick. from Zavialova, and that's something else these Russian women have. They are some of the fastest women in the world on beach and on grass.
They're absolutely zipping themselves and the frisbee all over the field today.
So now with the wind at their backs, you'd have to fancy them, considering how good their defense has been, to be able to stop the Germans and maybe get one of those breaks back.
Oh, I thought we were saying we expect that top speed only to rise as they race downwind.
With a little bit of wind assistance.
Exactly.
You do know how much faster that makes you. So a big pull, going all the way down and falling into the waiting hands of Schaefer. Quick play by the Germans, which it has to be against these Russians. You cannot get away with half cutting. You have to go as hard as you can all the time. Riemann looking for options. None becoming available downfield. She has the dump, but it's huge hand block and made sure by Yasalova. That woman is one of the best in the world, showing you exactly how good she is.
Absolutely incredible defensive effort by her, going twice to get that disc onto the ground.
And now Vasyukova walking to the disc. And the Russians looking for this break. Able to get it down the field to her captain, Yasalova. Yasalova sends it back to Vasyukova. Nice dump work, but they're not able to complete the swings. They're forced to drop it back again. Yasalova still waiting for a better option. A beautiful flick break, but unfortunately it is bobbled by Zavialova. That's the second time that's happened. Yasalova getting a fantastic break, but unfortunately being dropped by her receiver. And you can't make those kind of mistakes against the Germans.
Receiver perhaps distracted by how beautiful that breakthrough was and just drops it.
Now Schaefer with the disc, looking for options. And once again, nothing becoming available downfield. She's forced for the desperation huck. When you've got huge, powerful receivers like Shands downfield, you feel fairly comfortable going with that pass, able to keep it playing, and nice and calm eventually winds up in the hands of Eman for the score. And the Russians are unable to punch in their turnover opportunity and get the break, so the Germans march into the jaws of the wind and push the lead back out to 3 points at 5-2. You can see here the desperation huck being chased down and swallowed up by Shands, so tall but also incredibly smart cutter. She popped it off to Rayman, who then gets the assist, throwing it to a streaking F-man.
Yeah, a couple of these upwind German hucks have looked quite dicey, but their receivers just solid, coming down with them every time.
Yeah, Shan's doing a fantastic job there. She is one of the captains of this German team, and you can see why. A very strong O-line cutter for them, playing ultimate since 2013. One of the older players on this team as well. Born in 1998, which means this will be her last year.
Before the millennium.
I know, and that's such a rarity.
It actually is. Almost everyone here born in the year 2000. That's not quite true, but that's what it feels like as an older person attending here.
Oh my God, it's crazy when you just see people born in the year 2000 and younger. Somehow, having this much skill. All of these players are much, much better than I really ever was. And here come the Russians looking to go straight into the wind again. Stukalina, one of the captains of this Russian team, throwing downfield, comfortably taken at pace by Zavarina. Throws it back into the middle of the pitch. And the Russians still trying to get a bit of action downfield. The Germans are doing a great job of switching and just poaching off the unders, forcing them to go for the deep shot. Not something they're afraid of, as evidenced by Yasalova, sending that one deep and collected very calmly, despite the approaching Volny. That was not an easy grab at all for Toporkova.
But such a beautiful put. I mean, you don't see any wind interference on that throw at all.
Toporkova representing Banshee from Novgorod in Russia, one of the few Banshee players on this team. And this Russian team really drawn from a lot of different clubs, a lot of proliferation throughout the Russian scene. Biozone Southwest, we've already mentioned those two teams. Southwest from Russia, not the only, or from Moscow, not the only Moscow representation. There's also Lemongrass, Lilia Karolina who's the Spirit captain, number 17, plays for Lemongrass.
Russia, Moscow, of course, an immense city, so you can expect a lot of different teams hailing from there.
St. Petersburg, another major city. Elvis Presley and Cosmic Girls, the 2 club teams from there, contributing some players.
Interesting team name there, Elvis Presley.
Yes, strange team name.
I wonder what exactly was the inspiration for that choice. Perhaps a pun we're missing.
That's the thing. I love all the puns in different languages. Like, I hear the German team names and just have to assume that some of those are puns because they seem like they're puns, but I don't speak enough German to get them.
Just excellent inside jokes.
But you do not need to speak German to appreciate how good they are at Frisbee as they work their way down the pitch. Curse of the commentator just floating that one out in front of Fiedler. Bouncing off her hands. I don't think she was prepared for that dump pass at all.
No, but an easy throw to her and an unfortunate drop to make.
So now, 5-3. The Russians with a fantastic hold going into the wind. Still more points scored going into the wind than against it, which is baffling to me. But Nanaeva picking it up, looking for options, takes it down the line. Yasalova, the captain, pops it through, but unfortunately unable to connect. I believe it was Shikina in the end zone who wound up dropping that one.
Just getting stressed by one of her teammates and her defender right in the lane for that throw and drops it.
Just trying to jam it in the jam hole, but unable to come up with it in the end. Germans doing a good job of clearing away in front of the disc. It bounces, caught on the second attempt, just about able to come up with it. And Meyer now looking for a dump. Somebody working for her. Has to float that one well out in front, and that is down to the fantastic cover of Shaikina, shutting down the easy dump option, so he has to float it out. That's difficult to do in this wind. And now the Russians go in the other direction. Looking for more shots. Popping it down the line, snatched just as it was about to speed past her by Zavarina. Managing to toe her foot in as well. A beautiful inside break all the way back into the middle to Lizalova. And now Yasalova with the disc. Nodding at her players, but decides instead to call a timeout. And a nice little high five, maintaining the high spirit that has come to define this tournament. Yasalova allows herself a moment of respite. Doubling over. You have to believe that in this heat, running at that pace is draining the Russians, and they're keeping fairly short lines right now. We'll see how that fatigue plays in later on.
Yeah, and Yasalova has done so much for this team, not only captaining it along with her teammate, but I have it on good authority that she did pretty much everything in her power to get this squad over here, arranging their transport, doing all the visa work for her team. At the age of 17, 18, so much responsibility to take on yourself, doing so much work for her team. Incredible.
Very impressive young woman. And I suppose that's just the passion that this whole tournament is set up to cultivate. There are a few people who are incredibly driven, and the idea is that they would bring their national squads along with them, and they would get to experience this brilliant event and fall in love with the sport, come to enjoy and appreciate it, and then bring that passion back home with them and spread it throughout all the different club teams in their home countries and help build and grow the sport, help establish strong teams in the future. And the way some of these squads are playing, Europe is on the absolute rise.
Absolutely. It's no longer the case that just 1 or 2 players on any team are absolutely passionate about this sport. But their passion has, over the last few years, just ignited their countries. And Russia and Germany, both strong countries. We really see that passion paying off.
Definitely. So now, the Russian coach, Vladimir Kochkin, having a conversation with his women, advising them what they're looking for, and the Germans just standing there, ready. I'm sure they've got a plan defensively to try and keep the Russians out of their end zone. They don't want to let them have this break. They don't want to let them claw their way back into this game. They know how dangerous the Russians are. They have to maintain a nice cushion. Right now, though, the Germans have looked like the better team, but not by much. This game balanced on a knife edge.
Now they'll be looking to get a turn as soon as possible. This tournament also being notorious for the time overs that result after timeout has been taken.
Constantly happening. You call them time overs?
I'm trying to. It doesn't quite roll off the tongue yet, but
I was
Such
calling
good
them
expression.
turnouts for a while.
That a little bit too confusing for me to remember.
And the wind really starting to pick up now. Whipping some of my notes out across the pitch. I hope that doesn't interfere with anybody. But right now the focus from Yasalova. All she wants is a break. But forced to throw that immediately, and I've seen that turn happen a few times where they go for the straight shot to their dump, but the dump immediately starts cutting, and the miscommunication leads to the turnover and a free disc for the Germans. But they worked hard to shut down Yasalova's options in the end zone. And another example of that time over. So now here come the Germans working their way down the pitch. Weidler going hard. Nanaeva just has a moment to check on Nanaeva. Very spirited of her. Nanaeva is an incredibly powerful figure. I'm sure it would take a lot more than that to keep her down. And again, the Russians just inches away from getting the D. Riemann under a lot of pressure from Yasalova. And you see how many times Yasalova checks downfield to try and shape her force. In the end, a brilliant cut from Weidler, and Riemann just puts it on a plate, making a very difficult throw into the wind look very easy, and 6-3 to the Germans.
Yeah, that's starting to look just a little bit dominant by the Germans. However, this Russian team capable of anything and everything. So they'll be clawing to get some breaks back.
And in moments like this, you wonder who the Russians are going to turn to try and lead them out of this play. I mean, the obvious look is to Yasalova, as well as to Stukalina, their two captains, absolute leaders. I'm also a huge fan of Nanaeva, who's capable of going big and also throwing big. So, a dangerous woman who you need to keep your eyes on.
Yeah, the Russians already looking a little frustrated, though, this early on, and hopefully that frustration only fuels them onto more powerful plays rather than rattling them further. They cannot lose their mental edge in this game, not now.
It is a dangerous one. Managing the emotions is such an integral part, especially, I mean, throughout all kinds of sport, the mental game is massive, and it's something that's coming more and more to the fore as people are hiring sports psychologists and trying to have these meetings, these conversations to get them ready for these kind of moments. But even here at the youth level, where, I mean, do you remember being a teenager? Can you dial your memories back that far, Ingeborg? Everything seemed important.
I was so clueless and unaware. I remember playing tournaments and just figuring out about rules as they happened.
Lovely pop down to Stukalina. Another woman with an absolute cannon on her arm. Huge rescue dive from Yasalova, committing 100%. What a grab indeed, Ingeborg. And she just puts that one slightly out of the way from Stukalina, who tries to return the favor, but unfortunately couldn't get there in time. Now the Germans prowling, pursuing.
Clearing the sideline for a deep shot, perhaps.
I certainly hope so, just calling for them to move back. Stadler goes for a floaty pass down the line. It's still there. I do have a feeling that Luther gave up on that very early. Didn't expect the wind to have it and hold it there for so long. So now Stukalina trying to go in the opposite direction. Able to get it down the line to Zavialova. A nice little bit of cutting, but that disc is floating very high. Vasiakova able to come down with it, and she just launches the backhand. The wind's caught it. It's gonna float. Who's gonna get to it? It keeps on rolling to the other side and bounces around. Somehow Stukalina winds up with it in her hands, just staying active and involved in the play, ready to catch it once it came to her. She throws up another one, just jacking discs throughout this point. And unfortunately, third time is not the charm, as Stadler able to come in and put an end to that incredibly exciting, though very messy, run of plays.
Those sidearms just going higher and higher up into the wind, and just a little too high on that last one.
It seemed like they were in a competition to see who could sky a disc the furthest.
The second one was surprisingly effective because it floated all the way to the break side into a sea of Russian players.
So now the Germans on their own end zone line. And under this intense pressure, I was expecting them to go for a huck. Instead, just the quick dish, hoping somebody was there. And as a result, the Russians are now right outside that German end zone with the disc. That's just that stifling defense they are famous for. Yasakova.
Making it look easy.
Making it look, Yasalova, sorry, making it look very easy. Her and Stukalina working together, the two captains leading from the front.
Stukalina doing an incredible job to shake off her defender so wide that she was left absolutely 100% wide open for that goal.
We've seen some fantastic front of end zone cutting. You see Yasalova moves over both the German defenders with that fake, and Stukalina plants and goes the opposite direction. Acres of space, and it lands right in her chest for the score. 6-4. For a moment there, I really thought the Germans were going to go 7-3 up and see how much pain they could inflict upon the Russian morale, but the Russians stay strong, rely on that incredibly high pressure defense, which has got to, the Russians are not afraid to huck it deep. They don't mind just jacking it in the air and trusting their receivers to come down with it. And I think a part of that is because even if they don't, they do seem to have a better defense than the Germans. Despite the Germans' lead, it's so much pressure and stifling, so they've always got to back themselves, just get that disc back.
Yeah, I just basically 100% agree with that statement. The Russians not shy of taking risky shots. You saw in that previous point those sidearms going up and up into the wind, and no rush by the Russians to tamper down that radical throwing pattern.
And I like it. It makes for some top quality, exciting ultimate.
In
the wind, available here at fanseat.com. And if you'd like to join the conversation, please join us at hashtag EYUC 2017 on Twitter. Send us your messages. Lovely float all the way around. So the Germans have been so good scoring in this direction, just taking their time, making the right deep shots. Great cut, stutter step, bounces out of the left hand, caught in the right. Excellent skills by Feidler. Looking for the dump. She has Keeling go downfield, but well shut off. And forced instead to try and lash one deep, but it comes out awkward and blades into the ground. Excellent stuff by the Russians. And they have a chance for a break. What are the odds that the Russians just jack it deep straight away, Ingeborg?
They're pretty high.
They're relatively high.
Oh,
Yasalova toying with my heart. What a fake! And paying the price as she goes to the inside break to Stukalina. And it just hits the dirt. Now the Germans able to just steal that one away. A little bit of an ole as Ryman acting the matador for Yasalova's huge bid before popping it into the end zone. Excellent stuff by the Germans as they keep that 3-point lead of theirs. 7-4 now, and they'll be going downwind with a fairly good chance to take half.
Yeah, miscommunication there on the Russian defense, just leaving the receiver wide open, with people pointing, saying, "Wait, who had her?" Hopefully they'll be able to figure that out and much more in this timeout now, which I do believe the Germans took.
I like that call from the Germans. Put the Russians under a bit of pressure. You're 3 points up. This next point you can take half 8-4 and really start off in a commanding position. I do believe that the Germans started on offense.
It's a good question.
And here again, just a few highlights from earlier in the match.
Yeah, it was a German hold for the first point.
It's a point for Schaefer.
And then
there's another huge hook from the Russians. Just showing that they have no fear, consistently sending it deep. Banking their receivers to go get it. Excellent stuff. And Toporkova, the woman coming down with it there, she is a fantastic receiver for them. Again, just Yasalova, so good at getting those breaks out of tough situations. The Russians really do have a lot of athletes and some great throws as well. You need every ounce of talent to try and stop the Germans, who have just an irritating consistency to their level. So good going either direction. With the wind against it, you can trust 7 out of 7 of those women to just be able to put a 20-yard flick leading pass regardless of the conditions.
Impressive play by both teams, but currently Germany just looking more solid. Perhaps their talent a bit more spread out. The Russians relying heavily on 1 or 2 star players per line, and when those two not able to connect with their downfield or one another, it just leaves them vulnerable. Their defense still an incredible team effort, so they get it back a lot of the time, but hopefully they'll be able to put a couple more passes in a row on offense.
Hopefully. So Now the Germans looking to take half with a break. And both teams have been able to go into the wind brilliantly. I thought maybe this game would turn to a little bit of an upwind downwind, and you can see the flags in the background as this disc pans across. It is a fierce wind, but neither side really phased by it. Incredibly impressive. Nanaeva just about to hold on to that one as it flies past her shoulder. You can see Riemann just peeling off to try and poach in the open lane. And a fantastic D stepping in there. Walney read the play and slaps that one down. The Germans now will be picking up the disc directly in front of the Russian end zone. They couldn't have asked for a better circumstance to try and have a go at taking half.
Yeah, they're walking up slowly, trying to retain their calm.
Franke, the Germans love this ISO play. Go one way, then run the other, but in the end, Franke with a rare mistake, just putting that slightly outside of Riemann's grasp, and she had sold her marker.
Oh, absolutely.
Very surprising, cutting to the open side with no one to stop them.
Except themselves, unfortunately, there.
To fear, but fear itself, it would seem, as the Germans just botched their lines a little bit in that situation. And a huge hut coming out of the Russians, but falling short as the wind just pushes it down. I do think Yasalova would have had a chance to just get on the end of it, but was clearly thinking that was going to go a bit further, and Stukalina, the intended receiver, would have had time to collect it.
Yeah,
so now
reading it late.
Here come the Germans again. It's strange how starting further away from the end zone can sometimes make it easier to score, although in that instance it just bounces off the outstretched hands of Weidemeyer.
Yeah, I'm surprised she went up to it with the right hand. I think the left one would have been the more secure option, if not both.
Beautiful down the line pass to Stukalina. Centers it back into the middle, Yasalova. And she's pointing deep. We know what kind of throw she wants. Dumping it back to Bizlit-Hotnova. And Bizlit-Hotnova still looking for some kind of play, eventually able to get it down the line to Zavarina. He drops that one back, Bizlit-Hotnova. Almost throws that behind Vasiukova, but she's able to collect it. Lashing one deep, brilliantly taken down Yasalova. So good in the air, so good on the ground. Huge arcing flick to Nanaeva, and she collects it brilliantly. Walney frustrated. She was able to get that D right in front of the Russian end zone. Her team couldn't convert, and that time just not able to close the gap to the break side quick enough. And Nanaeva so strong in the air.
A beautiful work by the Russians on that second possession. Just calm.
See Yasalova just pointing and yelling, telling her team what to do. Big arcing flick blade. Wonderfully put to the other side. Brought in by Nanaeva.
Nanaeva has the height advantage, but she knows how to optimize that height advantage.
So 7-5, the Russians fortunate, I believe, to escape a 4-point deficit at halftime. And now, thanks to how strong their defense is, I definitely back them to get one turnover. So they will have the opportunity, I feel, to bring it back within 1 point. But it remains to be seen how they can utilize this wind.
They're just optimizing their matchups now. They want that turnover close to the German end zone.
You can see Vladimir Kochkin standing behind his girls, just advising them where to go, and then hobbling off the pitch.
I believe there are 8 Russians on the field right now.
Well, that's just an ever so crafty defensive tactic.
They fixed it, they fixed it.
Just at the end there, Golasova giving way. Now the Russians. That pull arcing back into the middle, so coming a good bit shallow of the break mark, not the greatest pull. And the Germans starting around halfway. Excellent faking from Feidler, forces her mark to the ground, but there's a call for a stall out, and again, brilliant defense.
And stall count.
Was Vasiukova able to get the D, and very concerning is
believe that's Shans who's gone down, one of the captains, and she has not gotten back up. She's taking a moment. Didn't seem to be an awful lot of contact on the play.
No, just slamming herself into that hard ground face first, it would appear.
Let's just have another look. Yeah, she just hit the ground hard.
Great defensive work by Russia, but always scary to see someone having to take an injury sub looking so rattled.
Sorry, that was Keeling, not Shans. Pauline Keeling, we certainly hope she's okay. She's being seen to by the staff of Germany. The Russians get the turn. Always felt like that was a possibility. Even with the short pull, the Germans were unable to get a single pass off. Now Yasalova looking for options. Brilliantly taken in by Zavialova, almost falling over. She adjusts her form and twists and turns to bring it down. The dump back to Yasalova. Looking for options downfield. She wants a breakside shot, but the stall count getting dangerously high. Takes the throw to Vasyakova, who throws it out. It's going to be a bid! I thought that was Yasalova's all day, but maybe I expect too much, given how good she is.
Yeah, if that disc hadn't died a little to the side, that would have been hers, no question about it. But unfortunately, the throw just too far wide and dying even wider. She wants that disc back.
The Germans with another chance to hold, and they throw that one all the way around. It looked for a moment that they might be able to sneakily get it into the hands of Ehrman, but some nice no-look defense from Zavarina secures that.
Just a little Russian intuition at work. But there might have been a foul on the mark.
Yasalova seems to agree. Still waiting to find out. I was watching the under-20 Irish women play earlier on, and every time there was some kind of a call, all 7 women did the hand signal. And that was really helpful. Hint, hint, rest of world. Yasalova contesting the call, so the stall's coming in at 6. It's got to be around 8 or 9 right now, and they have to go with the desperation hook. Brilliantly read. And I thought that was definitely going to go into the hands of Meyer, calling for a foul. I have to say I agree. It was a very physical play.
See if we can catch it on the replay.
Just hands all over her back, and Yasalova coming in to help translate. It's so interesting to see so much of the conversing between the different European countries being done almost entirely in people's second language, which is English, as that seems to be just the common denominator language for a lot of these people.
Yeah, sometimes you get lucky with a matchup, Austria-Germany, you can rest on German, and there's other such matchups linguistically, but
Yeah,
usually
about half the Belgian team, whenever there's the no-look defensive block, Russian intuition at its finest, as you said. Ingeborg Zavarina just putting herself in the right position. That's top quality positioning, but
taking a little step to the side.
Very
Casual
smart.
D.
Very casual D. She knew it was there. She knew what she was doing.
Seems the call has been contested and the disc will go back.
Understandable decision. Did seem like a very physical foul to me, but again contested and coming back in. Even if she threw it, it definitely seemed to me that at least 2 seconds passed, so it has to come in at 8, which is the highest that a stall can come in at.
It only comes at 8 on a contested stall. I think in all other situations, the maximum permissible stall is 6.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And that time, the Germans again unable to connect, so the Russians are able to get another turn. Yasalova right in front of the end zone. The Germans had the same opportunity to take half 8-4. Now the Russians looking to make it 7-6. And great faking by Yasalova, but unfortunately dropped in the end zone. Zavialova couldn't bring it under control. But Yasalova immediately earning it back. A lot of turns creeping into this game at the end of the first half. Now looking for somebody to make some kind of a move. Yasalova pops it out. It's going to need to be dragged. That was damn near fantastic, keeping her left foot in and catching with the right hand. I feel like she was in. An incredibly close play and a very difficult one, but
Let's see it on the replay.
Have another look at it. Now, watch how acrobatic this is.
Well, this is incredible footwork. It's hard to see with
that's
the
starting
German
to look
sideline
like
in
it
the
might have
way.
been out of bounds by the time she had it under control, but Leontieva positioning herself perfectly in the way of the foot. Here's our second angle. That's a catch. That was in bounds. That should have been a score. That was a fantastic catch. Robbed. Robbed, I say. Well, disc don't lie as here comes the hook, or maybe it does. Look at how free the Germans are downfield. What a chase by Schanz. That's the second time she's done that. The captain is the best O-line cutter the Germans have in those kind of situations. Was able to recognize the stall count was getting high and just took off. Excellent stuff as the Germans recycle to the middle, trying to push downfield. Beautiful swing all the way around to the outside and comfortably collected for the score. Denise Walney coming up with it and able to get the score that brings them into half. I have to say that is unfortunate for the Russians. I think that was a fantastic grab down in the opposite corner.
I mean, it was a fantastic grab, even when I thought it might be out, but having it confirmed to be in, it's painful. It's painful that that wasn't recognized.
Very painful for the Russians. But such is the game. Volny coming up with the score. Now, she's generally a very big D-line cutter for this German team, but in this instance, going to the O-line and getting the score just there. Fantastic throw to her as well. So, 8-5 to the Germans. Yeah, I think we agree it should be a little bit closer, but still plenty to play for as this is a hotly contested game and full of action. Where else would you want to be? Another 45 minutes of it to come after half-time, so we will join you shortly.
right, ladies and gentlemen, the second half just about to get underway in this quarter-final from the under-20 women's matchup. The Czech Republic lie waiting in the semis for whoever they happen to come up against. The Czech have a win against the Germans, haven't played the Russians, so it's very exciting to see how they'll prepare for it. The Russians getting to start on offense, currently 8-5 down after a little bit of a controversial out call. We do believe it should be 7-6, but you play the game as it lies. Huge throw from Yasalova going all the way down to the end zone. And despite the streaking efforts on defense by the number 90 for Germany, Yakel unable to get there in time, and a fantastic score for the Russians.
Her celebration almost accidentally catching her defender in the face, but heads up D by the Germans even after the point has been scored.
You can see how hungry the Russians are to stay involved in this game, not let it get ahead of them. That's exactly how you do it. There must have been about 4 or 5 passes at most for that point. I think it might have been as few as 3.
We can count them now on the replay.
1. And then Naneva looking around for options, gets it off to Yasalova. That's the second pass, and the third
Is the charm.
lashing it deep. Fantastic score. Huge celebration. And just throwing it over her head. Toporkova, one of the best receivers on this Russian team.
Strong start for the Russians in this second half. They've got their hold. Now they're going to try to get that first break in to claw their way back and over the Germans.
They've been able to get turns going in this direction against the Germans, but they've really struggled to punch them in. Having several opportunities in front of the end zone.
Right on the line, indeed.
So now here come Germany, looking to respond. Forced to dump it back to the middle of the pitch. Feidler with it. Again, tries to go down the line. That's a huge hook. It's floating. Excellent first time grab, but unable to come up with a disc in the end.
Yeah, she attacked that disc excellently, but unable to close her hands around it. Great work for her to come back to get a short throw.
And the Russians immediately send it all the way down the field, trying to get it to their favorite receiver, Toporkova. Unfortunately, unable to get her hands around that disc.
Yeah, difficult read by her. She was really struggling to keep following the disc in the awkward position that she had.
And oh my God, there's an awful lot happening right now, although that looks like a bad injury, a knock to the knee, and the way she's clutching it. Immediately, the coach for the Russians coming on and just saying, give her room, breathe.
And the other Russian coach running around to find ice.
As quickly as possible. Matthias coming on. Also they're looking after her teammate Luisa Grafner.
Here we see that first offensive huck, and the receiver's so close to coming up with it, but just pressure from the Russians and unable to close her hands around it.
The Russians respond with a huck of their own. Toporkova, I thought she had this all day, but it was tough coming over her head, just bouncing off her fingertips.
Yeah, you see her waddling under it, trying to get the best read.
Was the bobbled past two Germans, and you can see absolutely no malice in that at all.
No, just really
Just a
heads up
clash.
defense, and yeah, the Russian player completely unaware of where the German player is and hardly moves, but still just enough to come in for a hard collision.
A lot of that contact generated by the German. So now we wait.
That, unfortunately, is all we can do. Typically, you want to get people off the field as soon as possible after an injury situation, but oftentimes you just need to give that player time and room to collect themselves, figure out what's going on, and get them off the field in the only responsible way. How, unfortunately, this player being carried off.
That is a very sad sight to see, and you hope she's okay and hope that this doesn't have an adverse effect on the German women as well. Turnover will stand, and the Russians will have a chance to get the break and make it 8-7.
Yeah, an injury like that can really rattle a team. hopefully both teams just able to shake it off and keep playing the awesome game that we have been seeing so far.
One of the Germans' best defensive cutters, Walney, coming onto the pitch.
And the disc is in.
Yasalova goes for a nice low break. Around to it, and Stukalina tries to send it to the end zone and has two targets, goes too high for the initial one and bounces out of the hand of the second. So now here come the Germans going in the opposite direction. Schaefer trying to lead her troops down the pitch. Walney puts a big arcing backhand up. There's going to be a battle. Naneva's out of position and excellently taken in by Rayman, just pulling it away from the advancing hands of Naneva. Now Rayman looking for options and is forced to put up her own blading flick to the end zone. A little bit of contact downfield between the two players, but immediately saying, yep, they just bumped into each other. Nothing malicious about that.
Sorry, trying to go through you, but you had position, and the turnover stands.
The Russian Stukalina starts off with a deep cut.
Can't believe the disc isn't thrown to her.
One unbelievable dive there from Yasalova as she continues to lead her team from the front.
She gets up like she does this every day, and in fact, she does do this every day.
In
it is
fairness.
no big deal to her, but an incredible play nonetheless, and we'll go on and on about it as the Russians turn it over, bouncing out the hands of the receiver.
And the Germans just taking their time, walking to the disc very slowly. Fiedler wants her offense to set up, immediately turning and looking dump, skipping past the middle handler, going all the way around to Keeling, who gets it down the line to Ryman. Ryman looking for options. Volney tireless downfield, such an impressive cutter. Beautiful little inside break, and Fiedler able to get the catch despite the diving efforts of the Russian defense, and Germany maintain their 3-point lead, 9-6, losing a player in the process who our hearts go out to, but the Germans able to keep their focus, keep their attention on the task at hand and get that score in. Volney coming on, faking, so difficult to contain, and then just taking a nice little inside break to Fiedler for the score.
Yeah, the Russians had set up a poach in the open lane on the open side. The danger of that, of course, being that if the defender does not recover and get on the mark as soon as possible, you leave that break side wide open, and the Germans take absolute advantage. The score was still hotly contested with the Russians collapsing back in on their defensive play, but they'd given the Germans too much room.
Can't give the Germans any room at all, and the Russians were so tight in the early exchanges of this game, but understandably just starting to get a little bit fatigued. The separation starting to get a little bit bigger. And that classic chant of D from the German sideline. And here come the claps. And that's a high floating one. Yasalova got 2 looks at it, wasn't expecting the second look, and unfortunately it ends in a turnover. So now the Germans, with a short field and a chance to extend their lead out to 4 points, go to flow that around. Volney, who else, gets herself free and mimicking the previous score, going for that short inside break. You can see what a relief it is as they all pile on. 10-6.
Yeah, she threw that throw quite late, so relieved that the player able to get both hands and some knees around it to get the goal.
Wrapping her hands, knees, and every available appendage around the disc.
Hands, shoulders, knees, and toes. Down she goes for the score.
And 10-6, just like that to the Germans. Think about how close the game was to going 7-6. In fact, it should have gone 7-6.
Yes, but you will go on about it, but the players on the field have zero benefit of this instant video replay that we're enjoying up here. And
I've had a few people request it from us, just looking up to our cameras and being like, hey, you guys have instant replay. Can you tell us what's going on? And if it is available, you are allowed to request it.
Definitely true, but not something you would typically think of when you're on the field just trying to figure out what happened. And in all fairness, the Russian player there getting control of the disc really quite late, and hard to judge then as you're watching in real time when her foot goes down.
So basically, she's the solution to having this critical 2.5 people situation.
Perhaps the only fair resolution would have been to send the disc back, but often players just conceding the turnover in those kinds of situations.
Whatever's true to the players on the pitch is true as far as the game is concerned. That's what happens with self-officiation. There's no point complaining about it now, which just goes to show you that these slim margins between the two teams can lead to big deficits. I don't think there's a 4-point skill difference between these two squads, and the Germans just happening to take advantage of being able to punch it in down in that corner. It's the downwind corner that's been determining things, just because other teams the Russians haven't been able to put in those breaks into that end zone as well as the Germans have.
And it has been surprising because Russia has been on that doorstop repeatedly, sometimes multiple times in one point, so close, just meters away. And usually with Russian hands on the disc and just not holding on, it's been really unfortunate to watch those drops happen, but happen they have, and Germany looking very comfortable right now.
Can you believe, like, all these newcomer teams like Slovenia following them 17 points, like this, the first tournament, they get to the final and they don't get it.
So Germany with a 4-point lead. The scoreline may look comfortable, but none of those players do. They are
Inching to get on defense.
tautly strong. And that disc rolling out of bounds and back in. Stukalina quick to pick it up. Not interested in taking it from the sideline where it rolled out. And nobody else seems to mind.
Yeah, she might not have noticed.
Looking for some cutters coming. Gets it back.
Great grab.
Taking it. Great grab indeed. Now with the disc. Russia's still trying to work at Leontieva. Spreads around to Yasalova, who goes for the big, deep shot. It's beautifully weighted and easily collected in the end zone by Zavarina.
Such a beautiful throw. Great work by the Russians here.
Taken in. And look at how happy they are. They punched that one in. A flawless offensive hold for the Russians. Exactly what they needed it. Exactly when they needed it. 10-7. They've got a lot of work left for them in this second half. Get back in the game. And only about 23 minutes of regulation time left.
But they've gotten started now, and they are not going to stop.
These girls would play until sunset, as we say in Ireland.
If we permitted it, which unfortunately we
Fortunately
cannot.
for them, yeah.
Yeah, fortunately and unfortunately for them, these games are limited in their time.
Like if we had to commentate until sunset, that would severely impact our ability to call all this action.
It would just get better and
I mean,
better.
there's already a high percentage of nonsense in the commentary that we provide, and I imagine it would just get even worse.
The color commentary would get increasingly colorful.
And the play-by-play would just descend into madness. Madness. Now the Russians looking to employ a little bit of chaos right now. That high arcing pull going all the way to the TD tent behind us.
Giving Russia lots of time to set off their defense. Perhaps not the strategy they were going for, but perhaps helpful.
I'd say they don't mind it too much. Schaefer getting it from the brick mark, and the Russians have definitely been able to do impressive defense from a dead disc. When they have this time to set up, they are very athletic. And the Germans just going for a shot straight away to Rayman. And I like that look. Rayman marked by her opposite number, Yasalova. So the Russians get the turn. They're gonna have to march it all the way down the pitch. Yasalova with Naneva going down the line for her, has to float a high one up. But you can do that when you've got the big receiver Naneva underneath it.
Absolutely, you can.
So now looking to get it back into the middle to Yasalova. Lovely float out there to Stukalina, and she beautiful flick hook all the way down to the end zone. Marvelous stuff. The Russians have got some life in them yet. Chased down and scored by Toporkova. Forgive me. One of the best receivers on this Russian team. How many hucks has she been on the end of, Ingeborg?
Countless, but not enough. She'll be looking to get at least 3 or 4 more in this game.
Stukalina just catching it and immediately putting the perfect huck into the wind. Plenty of spin in Toporkova.
Yeah, we need to remind viewers back at home that there is a serious amount of wind on this field. You cannot see it in those deep hucks, but it is here, trust me.
And the Russians only needing one opportunity, and as smooth as these last 2 offensive points have been, maybe a little bit reminiscent of some sandy antics in Royan.
Oh yeah. The Germans perhaps doing good work to ignore that side-by-side comparison.
And the Germans are able to stay focused. We'll see how they respond now. The Russians in the ascendancy, 2 points in a row. And now with the wind at their backs, here comes a big pull, blading. And rattling off the shin audibly from all the way up here. Keeling centers it into the middle. And keep the reset going to Schaefer. Looking for options. Dumps it back to Fiedler. Back to Schaefer. And Ryman coming under. Tirelessly working, going for a huge hug herself, but it's blading a bit too much. Nanaeva able to step in and get the D, despite the best efforts of Volny. Down to Stukalina as she launches another one. The flick hugs have been working, and who else but Toporkova underneath it, chases it down for 10-9. What a game we've got, ladies and gentlemen. The Russians furiously flying back into this contest. 10-9 the score. They were 10-6 down. It's unbelievable stuff, ladies and gentlemen. You said it yourself, Ingeborg. She may have countless deep receptions, but she needs a few more, and there's one of them.
There is one of them. Just incredible play by the Russians. Aggressive defensive grab there to secure possession. The German receiver actually getting closer than I thought she did. She possibly could.
Toporkova reading it brilliantly, chasing it down, celebrating with her teammates. That is one nippy woman and difficult to hold on to.
It all started with this fantastic play by Nanaeva.
Just coming across, Volny tried to correct herself
From Raymond's short dropping huck.
Yeah, but
Nanaeva.
then just how quickly they're able to send it. The Russians just raring to go on the turn.
As soon as Stukalina got that disc, I was thinking, well, this is probably going to be a flick huck. I wonder who's going to be on the end of it. She lashes it, and you just look and you see number 26, Toporkova, burning deep, chasing it down brilliantly. And if you're marking Toporkova at this point, I think you just give her the under. I think you just let her have any pass going towards the handlers.
I don't think you can back her deep enough to dissuade her from juking you under and running deep regardless.
What she's always looking for, as soon as she sees one of her captains, Yasalova, Stukalina, getting the disc, she's tearing down the pitch. Such well-timed deep cuts, so difficult to contain. 10-9 now. The Russians marching back into this match, but still 2 breaks away from the lead. And that is an awful lot to ask when going up against the Germans. Good use of a timeout, collecting themselves, bringing it together with a nice chant. Setting out a strong O-line now.
The Germans not looking as cheerful and excited as they did just before half, but capable nonetheless, resolved to hold on to this offensive possession.
So now we wait and see.
This game has heated up something fierce.
As the temperatures rise today in Veenendaal, so has the action as we're heading into the semifinals after this round of games in the under-20 women's division.
A fantastic quarterfinal in front of us. The Czech Republic waiting for the victor in the semis. Czech Republic having a marvelous tournament in the women's division. Fantastic play with both age groups. Now Friedler looking for options, but under a lot of pressure. Manages to get it round to her captain. Schaefer pops it off to Raymond. Raymond has Schaefer in the middle. Doesn't like looking for being marked by Yasalova. Yasalova and Raymond have been having one hell of a battle. That shot all the way down. One hell of a grab. I thought that was going to speed past Fiedler. Somehow she's able to get purchase on the disc and bring it to a stop. But now the Russians swarming. And we'll see if there's going to be a call there immediately.
Yeah, not surprising. German receiver going down hard.
I believe it was Keeling. Being marked very intensely by Zavialova.
Get another look at that incredible snag. The Germans putting it far ahead of their receivers, and the receivers only too happy to come up with those discs.
I thought it was coming in far too hot for Fiedler, but maybe
so
she is.
So did I, but bam. She
Bam!
gets all of her fingers around it.
And here you just see the stumble. Feet getting a bit tangled up, calling for the foul. Yasalova again stepping in to be a translator.
Understandably, situations like this take a little longer to resolve when you do have to say everything twice, once in Russian to your teammate and another time in English.
Saying is it contested or uncontested? Certainly looks like she's motioning more towards uncontested, but if it's contested, it's going to go back into the hands of Fiedler. If it's uncontested,
Stays on the end zone line.
I mean, in either scenario, it's going to stay on the end zone line.
True. But a little to the left or a little to the right. That's the question
Also, the
here.
stall count stays in play. If it is a contested foul.
Yep, contested foul it is.
Keeling throwing it back to Fiedler. Now Keeling is on the right side of her marker, Zavialova, if she wants to get this score. Schaefer just behind as well. Call for the violation and it comes back.
Yeah, she knows she was a little too eager to get up line for that score.
Very fair-minded of her. She stopped as soon as she realized. Was like, no, I'm sorry. Clears out. That one floats all the way around. The correct decision, brilliantly taken by Fiedler. The presence of mind to just look to the break side and arc one.
Try something different to come up with the score this time.
And they're building a tower to heaven as the score 11-9. The Germans needed that hold. And Russia gonna have to go with the wind. You see here, Fiedler decides against sending it to Keeling.
Never once what she was going for. Instead, arcs it all the way around. Excellent decision. Well taken throw.
Keeling also there running away to the stack to make sure she is absolutely off the menu, clearing all of the space, but already a disc flying to the break side for the score.
So the Germans coming out with a big D-line. Volny right at the front, disc in hand, getting ready to pull.
Yeah, she has just been incredible as a defensive force on this German team. Trying the tall matchup there.
That is a big pull. I thought the wind was going to catch right under them, throw it straight to Volny's face. But instead managing to pin the Russians on the sideline. That couldn't have gone much better. Looking for options, and you have to put Volny on Nanaeva. That's a hell of a battle. Nanaeva coming up with it in the end. Lashing it right back into the middle. The Russians looking fearsome right now. Leontieva, and Nanaeva gets it again, thinks about sending it down the line. No one really coming for it. Beautiful swinging flick. It would have been perfect, but she threw it about 4 seconds too early, waiting for somebody to make that cut. Assumed someone was turning to that side, but threw it a bit too early. Maybe the adrenaline pumping through her system.
Yeah, it's always curious when you see a disc go up to no one. You always wonder what did the offensive thrower have in her sights at that time. You understand that the 7 cut was what she was looking for, but at that time, no Russians in that space to receive.
Yasalova.
An incredibly difficult put, and it sails out of bounds.
The Brilliant work by the Russians to leave that as the only real available option. They go again. Slova's going to pick this up. And the Russians seem to be trying to set up some kind of isolation. They've pushed 4 cutters all the way back. Nanaeva right at the front, and Stuklina's just going to go straight down the line. But a great block means they can't get it. Nanaeva cutting to that opposite corner, but Yasalova puts it a bit too far out. A difficult window to hit, especially with the wind making it pick up speed the whole way across the pitch.
Also, there's not a whole lot of grass next to the field, so players perhaps a bit hesitant to throw themselves after frisbees sailing out of bounds.
So now, floating that one up. Well taken in, and not an easy catch to make. And you can hear her shouting in frustration at her team. Nobody really getting that free. Eventually she is able to get it just down the line. Waiting for it, Baumog. Still looking for options, but nobody coming. She has to just throw that one up and hope for the best. And Yasalova reads the play brilliantly, getting in the way, although there's a violation.
A foul on the throw, it looks like. The play on is being called audibly.
You can hear from the opposite sideline Vladimir Kochkin just screaming at this team. Intensity in this game ratcheting up with every passing second. Nanaeva looking for options. The Germans doing a great job of shutting down these looks, and Yasalova couldn't get to that disc. Nothing really coming available for them.
It felt like she had an open cutter under, but not the target she wanted, and taking a much more difficult option to her captain.
Berent not having many options come available for her. Eventually able to get it off. Now back into the middle of the pitch with Baumog. Floats that one out nicely. Collected down the line, Volny with the disc. Falling over, but Nanaeva just keeps on stalling, and Volny floats that one to the back corner. This could be crucial. And the Russians seem to just fall asleep for a moment. That was the open side, but nobody seemed interested in stopping Franke from cutting to the back corner and getting the disc. And just like that, the Germans push the lead back out to 3. Only gets his disc full down, and if you just watch Franke, nobody ever really stops her. Her defender completely loses her, and she walks it to the back corner, collecting the easy score. And that's unfortunate for the Russians.
Dangerous in that end zone to commit 100% to the undercut in such a narrow window, and then the German player just getting a wide open free deep in the end zone for the score. Absolutely, there was a defender, but looked completely out of position.
Spinning around, you can see she was looking for her cut, the person she was supposed to be marking, in the exact moment.
As that
Franke
person was
realized who it
scoring
was.
the goal. It's a little
taking
late for that realization to hit, and it hit extra hard at that point.
Unfortunate lapse in concentration for the Russians. They worked so hard to bring this game back within 1 at 10-9, and the Germans respond brilliantly with a 3-point run of their own, pushing the lead back out. The score now at 12-9. The Russians had plenty of opportunities to punch that into the end zone and just couldn't get it done. Stukalina marshalling her troops. Yasalova picking up the disc. Giving out a big swing around to the opposite sideline. Bezelikotnova tries to get it back down to Zavialova, and it appears the legs might be just falling off the Russians now.
Russians making this really hard for themselves. They have open options under, but they just don't like the look of them enough to take a chance, and forcing these super tight resets just keep failing.
Now the Germans right on the end zone line, trying to get that dump off, but unfortunately give the disc back. And you have to imagine if they'd been able to get that score, it would have been a bit of a nail in the coffin moment. And now the Russians get a lifeline.
Absolutely let off the hook there. Get a chance to hold this possession. possession after all.
Yasalova looking for options, goes immediately to the deep shot to Stukalina, the woman she trusts above all else, and that's why repositioning herself and diving to get that catch. Stukalina has a mean forehand on her as well. Taking easy under to Shignia.
Just a missed throw there. She had a receiver downfield in acres of space, but throws it about 4 meters behind her.
We haven't seen much of Shigina in this game, coming in a little bit cold to this point.
Now here come the Germans, a deep cut immediately. It's a set play, and that one a little bit physical, but the German doesn't mind getting back up somewhat gingerly, but no call made, just pushing Yasalova off her, able to get that break around to Rayman. Rayman looking for options. She has a free underpass in the form of Baumog. Baumog even. Baumog able to get that under to Rayman. I'm very sorry, Baumog. I've been calling Baumog all game. Rayman launching that one deep beautifully. Misread momentarily. I thought it was going to go far over the head of Luther, but she sure had me, and I think a lot of people in the stands fooled.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually able to snatch it off the ground.
No, it looked like that was going to be one of those reach for it, withdraw, and a disc sailing overhead, but no, she hesitates and then holds on.
How often do you see that? Most of the time that disc is just gone and you've missed your opportunity, but Luther keeps focused the whole time and brilliantly catching that one to punish the Russians. 13-9 now, and they were 10-6 down, brought it back to 10-9. It was fantastic play, and the Germans respond with a 4-point run of their own, pushing it back out to 13-9. Heartbreaking stuff for the Russians. They're still in this game, but now it will require an absolutely mythical effort. Again, as we were saying earlier, not something Russian female teams are unfamiliar with.
No, but to do that twice in one game might be too much to ask. A lot of these players getting a lot of time on the field, just trying to make those breaks every single time. It might just be asking too much, too often, of so many of these players that have played point after point to do it yet again.
An excellent point, and you've seen Yasalova and Stukalina going to their knees in heavy breathing from a few points into this game. That's just the high-intensity style of offense they like to play. Toporkova and Naneva have also played massive roles for this Russian team. Alongside them as well. And that damn near took off one of the spectators' heads. He was not paying attention,
No,
nothing short of
call
luck.
him a spectator, but he was not spectating as he should have been, and punished, almost,
Just about getting away with it.
by the Germans. Are you not entertained, sir? Are you not watching us be awesome?
You need to pay far more attention. Yasalova with a beautiful under. Stukalina launched it to Toporkova. Still alive for her. What a grab!
I do think that was out of bounds, but still incredible.
I think give it to her. And
the
they
Germans
do.
Fair play.
And that's the second time she's made that. Hey, fair play. That's the Irish expression. I've been rubbing off on you here, Ingeborg.
Sitting in close quarters up here in the commentary booth.
Fantastic stuff by the Russians. And how many times have we seen that? Stukalina gets it, turns, and lasers a flick downfield for Toporkova to collect. Let's have one more look at it. And just talismans of the Russian team, all three of them. Yasalova, Stukalina. A big block, but look at this rescue. Unbelievable stuff from Toporkova.
Just incredible.
I think it's important to point out that she is known as the CrossFit girl, incredibly fit. She's 16 years old. And the support for Germany starting to show throughout the stands.
But at 16 and already a beast, just think of the monster this girl will become.
The Russian women are gearing up to be one of the top female teams in the world.
Just terrifying. And I mean that in the best way possible.
As a female player. So the Germans going again, looking for a few options. Maybe get it back into the middle. And beautiful give-go play. Peter has it down the pitch. Going for the under. Excellently collected by Meyer. I thought that was hitting dirt.
She had other ideas and she floats it, but unfortunately Rayman with a rare mistake. And Yasalova immediately sending it deep. Popped up.
This one will not float enough for another incredible second effort by the Russians.
You see
Germany
the disc
gets it
healing.
back.
Looking at options, but no cuts really coming for her downfield. She has to turn to Schaefer, who jukes and dives brilliantly to free herself up, lashing that one to the end zone for the streaking Eman, but just a bit too far ahead of her in the end.
Yeah, lashing that disc too deep.
In this game, about a minute away from expiring, but it would be finish the point and add one. So if the Russians score, it'll most likely be a game of 14. The Germans, it will end at 15. 13-10 the score right now. What a match we've had. 13-11 game to 14. Certainly seems like something the Russians will be able to do. Yasalova able to get it to Toporkova. A cheeky little scuba fake late in the game. Stukalina laying out to make sure, and how many times has that woman rescued possession for her squad? Lovely down the line pass, comfortably taken by Yasalova. She's got options, decides against sending it deep after agreeing with the decision there. Floats that one out to Stukalina, she's gonna have to beat, and of course she does, saving possession. But that might be one too many. And that is a huge loss for the Russians. She just needs a second, puts her hand up, hoping for a breath. Sacrificing life and limb for her teammates.
She might just be winded.
Hopefully, just a little bit of a knock. You can see Yasalova sees her co-captain, trusts her, knows she can put that out in front, and Stukalina will get to it. I mean, if a disc is anywhere within 6 foot of that woman, she's gonna get a hand on it.
According to the rules, she actually should be taking an injury substitution.
She should, but a very unfortunate and uncharacteristic drop for Toporkova.
Punished.
It was a difficult one to catch, bobbling and blading, and Stukalina just showing how hard she's refusing to come off. And here come the Germans, back on the bounce. Getting it just down to the sideline. Grafer with the disc, looking around for options, manages to get it inside to Rayman. Keeps the move going to Schaefer down the line. But unfortunately, Fiedler was thinking about the throw before she made the catch. A classic error, a cardinal sin. And it opens the door for Yasalova and the Russian women to charge back into this. Looking for options, Stukalina does a great little move down the line, but right now nothing really opening up. Nice juke fake from Vasyukova. Floats that one out. Comfortably taken by Shikina. Back into Yasalova. She's just telling people, just go deep. That's, I assume, what she's motioning with her hands. Vasyukova gets it and swings it around. Stukalina back into the middle to Toporkova. Back out to Yasalova. And Yasalova bleeds that one. Nanakeva's gonna have to bid, but unfortunately couldn't quite get there in the end. Nanaeva just watches the disc fall down a bit too far away from her.
Yeah, perhaps also just too low.
We see with
For
Nanaeva,
such a tall receiver.
she's such a tall receiver. You want to be floating those discs and backing her to beat the likes of Eman in the air. And a smart timeout called by the Germans as the clock expires. We are 102 minutes into this quarter-final. Don't go anywhere. So much action. See Stukalina immediately going down to her hands and knees, trying to regain her breath. Yasalova just sitting down beside her. These Russian women
Phenomenal.
giving out a
Just
lesson
phenomenal.
in determination and drive. Here we see one of the fantastic cuts. It looked like it was going to go far over the head of the intended receiver, Luder.
But she just deciding exactly what hand position she wants to take to secure another goal for this German team.
And here you see how many times have we seen this in the game. Stukalina taking Toporkova. What a stellar play. She is a true star. And it's really been a game filled to the brim with hucks. It's been spectacular.
Spectacular action, lots of deep play, and you expect teams to maybe only be shooting downwind in this kind of weather, but nope.
Not
Hucks
at all.
both ways, and you hardly notice it. the occasional overthrow, but
This is the play that winded Stukalina. Look at how far she jumps every single time. It looks like a discus hitting the ground anywhere near her. The captain just puts the body on the line and brings it in. Stukalina was actually on the mixed Russian team at Beach Worlds as well, so the two captains of this under-20 Russian outfit were in Royan.
tested by the heat there.
Here in the Netherlands, the weather considerably more unpredictable.
True. But more intermediate level of heat.
True, not as hot. Considerably wetter. Yesterday we damn near got washed out. I thought we were going to drift off into the North Sea, but in the end able to endure. Thanks in no small part to the top quality action, all of it available in the fancied archives. The Germans able to put that one around, and Yasilova puts a lot of pressure on Rayman. Rayman, one of the best German receivers on this team, but Yasilova gets the hand up there, and a difficult catch to bring in. So now the Russians, Nanieva, picking up the disc right in front of the German end zone, going into the wind, looking for options. They want to make this a game to 14. Just about getting that swing off around to Vasyukova. Plays around beautifully to Yasilova. Yasilova, Stukalina coming back for her and hits her. Stukalina looking for options. There's been a pick called downfield, so that disc is going to have to go back to Stukalina, but great cutting from Vasyukova.
Yeah, but Vasyukova there just sneaking much too much through the middle of the end zone, leaving her German player behind. Let's hope the Russians don't lose their flow.
That's always a problem when these pick calls come back. Stukalina goes for the first hammer I've seen her do. Nanieva just stands there and collects it. Those are the kind of throws you need to put to Nanieva. Don't zip one down near her ankles. Absolutely launch one up above her wrists.
Into the sun and down. You can see her just like dip up onto her toes to give herself maybe a couple extra centimeters.
Reaching for the sky. That is one high one. And look how quickly she establishes the proper position, and then just a nice little hop. And the Germans can't do anything but throw up their hands and hope to distract her. So that makes it 13-11, a game to 14. The Russians are going to need 2 downwind breaks and 1 upwind one to take this match. You see the Germans just psyching themselves up. And as good as the Russians have been, I think the Germans are going to have a flawless bit of offense here and take the win.
Yeah, the Germans have been the better side throughout this match, but we will see. The Russian defensive pressure, no joke.
Absolutely not. At its finest, it has completely shut down the Germans. At its worst, it has made them uncomfortable.
And we see here again, although, yes, we do see here again the Russian coach fine-tuning every single individual matchup downfield, giving his Russian team the best chances at this defensive play.
Let's just have a look at the caliber of player they're putting out there. I mean, Toporkova has to be out there, Stukalina as well. Vasilova throwing the disc down the pitch, also returning the pitch. Golosova and tearing down there to apply the force. Shikina. Playing between each other. Rayman and Vasilova back into that personal battle, and that one just going a little bit high above the head of Wanley. Maybe the moment getting to Rayman. That's the first mistake I've seen her making quite a while. Vasilova just asking the Germans to push back. And what kind of throw are you expecting to come out of it right now? 2-5, definitely geared towards setting up a deep shot, and you can see just peeling off the back, Keeling trying to patrol that deep spot. She's marking Toporkova, so you have to expect her to go deep. I'm thinking Stukalina down the line, and then a big old hook to Toporkova. Toporkova coming all the way under, abusing that poach, beautifully done. Gives it to Stukalina and just starts making her way down towards the end zone. Smooth moves there.
The Russians threading it through here.
Vasilova to Stukalina. She has Toporkova making that move, and she wants to hit her with it. And of course she does! The old reliable connection, Stukalina, flick, hook to Toporkova. Those women have been burning the Germans all game long. 13-12. 2 more breaks to go.
Yeah, but the first one is on the board for the Russians.
Excellent stuff.
2 breaks to win, or 1 German hold to end this phenomenal matchup.
It has been an unbelievable matchup. There you see the hook again. Just that intuitive connection between Stukalina and Toporkova is invaluable. Getting it done time and time again. Brilliant stuff. The German men's team on the sideline cheering on their countrywomen.
Oddly, their cheer on the melody of When I Root for the Defense, but that is absolutely not what they're saying right now. But perhaps the Russians will willfully misinterpret and be bolstered by the German sideline.
Absolutely, and they are full of intensity right now. It is difficult to breathe out here. It's getting closer by the second.
My body is starting to shake.
And the Russians have never been in the lead in this game. Always chasing, putting together runs to make up the difference. Found themselves 4-1 down, pulled it back. Found themselves 10-6 down, pulled it back. Found themselves 13-9 down and are in the process of pulling it back. And there's the short field turnover. A little bit of tragedy for the Germans, an unforced error. Fiedler just bouncing out of her hands, and you have to wonder if that's just a mistake born of the pressure. Vasilyova walks calmly to the disc. The captain gives it to Stukalina. It's impossible to hold. Dumps it back to Vasilyova, looking for the swing, unable to get it off. Back to Stukalina and tears off down the line. You can see the Germans poaching to try and contain the Russian captains, from whom all good things have sprouted on this team. Vasilyova again looking. She has the around option. How fast do you believe these Russian and German hearts are beating right now? Floating it up. And that seemed to be caught at the same time, but uncontested. It was simultaneous. We've got a universe point match. One of the most understated catches. A huge amount of respect going to Fiedler. That is not an easy decision to make, and she immediately, without hesitation, went, we caught that at the same time. That is 100% your goal.
She only takes a breath in order to be able to articulate, yes, that is your disc. Incredible maturity there.
This is one of the best games I've seen all tournament long. And here we get another look at it. Vasilyova tearing down the field. Fiedler peels off, realizes she has this chance. They both go up and catch it. That looks about as simultaneous as it gets.
Different pronunciation, same word. We are on one page here. That was incredible. The disc just floating too far up line, but nevertheless, Russia able to come up with it.
Good God, what a game. Ingeborg, I have to ask, who do you think takes it?
Oh, I don't know, Larkin, I don't know.
Oh, the intensity, it's palpable. I can barely control myself. What a match we have had the absolute privilege of calling. There's some great action coming up later, but I don't know if any of it will be able to top this.
I feel like Russia are the favorites going in on defense on this point. They have gotten turn for turn on that German end zone line on the left. However, so rarely able to come up with it on that side. It might be a point of a lot of turnovers, and as I say that, the chance of a German clean hold just increases in my mind.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Ingeborg, but I believe this is the first time the teams have been drawn since 4-all.
Has it been 4-all? Is it not the first equalizer since 0-0-1-1 at the start?
Potentially, and there's the D! Stukalina gets in front of Rayman and just knocks it down.
Incredibly poaching off of her target.
And Vasilyova goes to call the timeout. She has one left. And Vincent Kochkin, animated.
Never have I seen a timeout call reacted to so enthusiastically.
I think with the man's reputation, it's almost restrained, but the Russians still have an awful lot of work to do. This has got to be a high-intensity conversation for both sides. And here we can see Stukalina just brilliantly peeling off and getting the D, jumping in front of Ryman.
Such awareness. She was close, but not really near the disc when that happened, and just going across for it.
A very unfortunate turn on the previous point for Fiedler that the Russians were able to punch in. And here we see it again, Stukalina and Yasalova, so integral to everything good the Russians have been able to do. If you're picking an MVP for this game, I think it has to be one of them. Provided they're able to see it out.
Split those MVP shorts straight down the middle.
And each of them gets one MVP short.
After all, it is a plural, so yes, one leg each.
And right now, they all need each other.
Although those shorts quite spacious, so quite possible to wear them at the same time. However, I don't think that'll really help the Russian offense.
Right now, you could cut the tension with a knife all around the stadium.
I think you could cut the tension with a sizable blunt object. It is just fit to burst.
Hearts pounding. You can hear them from here. The pulses of these two teams beating out. Yasalova standing over the disc.
So calm and collected as she has been all game, regardless of what's going on.
I don't know how she could do it. I'd be having a panic attack if I was one of those players right now. And these young women have given everything to this game. The isolation in the middle of the pitch, Stukalina being marked by Volny. You can see Raymond also trying to peel off as well. Yasalova looks to Stukalina, gets the break off to her, and Raymond is just standing downfield. They've left a completely free poach. And Raymond coming in, but can't quite get there in time. The Russians peeling, looking for options. The Germans poaching, protecting the nest at all costs. As the Russians hunt, taking their time, swinging it back and forth in no rush. And Volny, who else could be tasked with trying to contain Stukalina? She floats it out. It just goes a little bit beyond Savarina, and I think she felt like that may be intended for somebody else.
Yeah, just too far and wide of her for her to completely believe that that was meant for her, but unfortunately it was, and Russia turned it over.
And here we see Stukalina's turnover again. The disc just fading away. She thought it was for somebody else. She realizes now she could have chased it down. And a very, very tough position as the Germans go for the big hook. Just about completed. Look how determined Volny is. That woman doesn't understand the idea of defeat. Meyer has it down the pitch, and the Germans have gone 2/3 the length of the pitch in 2 throws. Playing it down, but that one's just floating a bit too much. And Yasalova happy to let it just go out, and the wind really picking up, blowing us to this near sideline.
A similar mistake by the German receiver, just thinking there was someone deeper, wider than her.
Yasalova picking the disc up, marked by Raymond. Where is Toporkova? Where is Stukalina? It's worked so many goddamn times before. Why not just one more? Great cut by Stukalina, but she slips and she's unable to get free.
Stall count rising.
Stall count getting very high. She's had to float it up. Volney there, but Stukalina gets massive and brings it in. And right now just patrolling deep for the Germans. Number 5, Grafer. That one floating. Very calm from Toporkova. Able to hold her position despite the encroaching flanker. Stukalina on the opposite sideline. The Russians are incredibly spread out. I thought they were taking away their deep options. That one's floating. It might just be perfect. Chasing it down, and she does it! What a score! What a play! What a game! Oh my God!
Russia leading for the first time in the entire game to win it.
Heartbreak for the Germans. You can see scattered across there their hopes. And look at the two captains collapse together. They absolutely earned this, and the Russian women just jumping up and down. Take a bow, absolutely everybody. The only losers in this game are the ones who didn't get to see it. You can see Stukalina just lying on the ground.
Crying in disbelief.
Crying. She can't believe she did it.
And
What
she did
a throw.
so much to earn this.
I have to give, Yasalova is one of the best female players on the planet, but for my money, Stukalina gets MVP. Look at that for a grab. It looked like it had gone over her head. It looked like it was going to get D'd, and never giving up, and Golasova commits, gets the score. One of the best games of Ultimate to ever take place on this continent.
Congratulations to Russia, commiserations to Germany. And that's what makes sports so brilliant, so powerful, so beautiful. Unbelievable scenes here in Veenendaal, Netherlands. I mean, coming up next in the under-20 men's division, we do have 2 games for you, but
what could even compare?
what could hope to compare to that? I think we shut down the whole tournament. That was a quarter-final. A quarter-final. They were 10-6 down. They brought it back to 10-9. The Germans pushed that out to 13-9, and the Russians went on a 5-point run. Does that remind you of any kinds of games?
Why, I don't know, Lorcan, does it? Perhaps in sandier conditions and against the USA. Yes, I do believe the Russian girls here have done what their beach counterparts did in Royan, taking the victory.
Unbelievable scenes. Heartbreak for Germany.
Absolutely.
I just need a moment to calm down and catch my breath. I'm almost crying, and all I had to do is sit here and watch it. Well, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go over to Field 2. Thank you very much for joining us for one of the greatest games of Ultimate I've ever watched in my life. Over on Field 2, Ireland are going to take on Sweden. They are 2 of the 3 undefeated teams in the under-20 men's division, fighting out for the top position in those power pools. Here we will have Czech Republic going up against the Netherlands in a very important game for those power pools to see if one of those teams will be able to make it through to the quarterfinals. Keep it here at fancy.com for more action all game long, and we're just going to bring you a couple of highlights to close it out.
There were so many in this game. It's a tough job to even choose. Might as well just play the whole game back, but we don't have time for that.
That's the fateful turnover from Germany. The second one on Universe Point, and here you see Anasova.
Yeah, Russia's struggling to get started there, but once they do.
A huge grab from Stukalina. Looking for the options. Just working it back and forth, and here she gets it. Surprised it wasn't Toporkova who wound up getting it in the end. Golosova, the one. What a throw over the top of the 2 German defenders. And Golosova, so much focus laying out. So, we've got some more games coming up for you. Keep it here, fancy.com, if your heart can take it.